I'm a theoretical physicist, and I like to say that I walk in the footsteps of giants like Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr. I'm not a philosopher. However, I am rather dazzled by the fact that many of the basic mysteries that we find in string theory and the theory of everything seem to be mirrored in the Zohar and in the Kabbalah.
As a scholar, the most amazing thing of all is the degree to which modern astrophysics sounds like a Kabbalistic text.
When I first made the correlations between Kabbalah and science, I was stunned.
We do know that Isaac Newton had access to certain mystical texts, certain texts of the Kabbalah.
Well, the Kabbalistic description of creation is coming from a single little point, from a speck, and of having matter form and time and space form all together at the very beginning. This sounds very much to me like the description of the Big Bang.
I couldn't believe that the Kabbalists could derive these truths without really knowing any mathematics or physics.
It is certainly true that in string theory, the number 10 is the dimension of space-time for supersymmetrical string theories, and 26 for bosonic string theories stand out as a requirement of the mathematics.
All the things that could destroy string theory, all the things that do destroy every rival theory to string theory, they are all eliminated in precisely 10 and 26 dimensions. These dimensions are magic. We physicists don't know where these dimensions come from.
The Zohar says those things. It could have just been a lucky guess. I don't know.
The Zohar's notion that light is a realm of no time and no space is quite consistent with special relativity.
What's been stopping it so far are, number one, the lack of a good concept, and I think the Kabbalah is offering that now in the context of modern science, and two, a reticence on the part of both scientists and people in religion to mix the two.
It's rather amazing, this uncanny reflection of some of the most advanced cosmology coming from our satellites, coming from our atom smashers, coming from our blackboards, that are mirrored in the Zohar and ancient Kabbalistic texts.
So when I was doing my research for that video, The Copernican Principle, Darwin's Trojan Horse, I was looking for material which would, the interdependence between evolution and heliocentrism. And one of the resources I came across was the work of a man by the name of Marshall Hall, who was a geocentrist who passed away in 2013, but a large collection of his writings and research is gathered at fixedearth.com. I highly recommend anyone checking that out. So a lot of the things he talked about ended up going into that video, and one of the things that I did come across that I didn't get a chance to include or research at the time was a point that he makes quite a few times about the Kabbalah. And basically he explains how the Kabbalah, prior to Darwin, prior to even the Copernican revolution, not only does Kabbalism, of course, carry with it the idea of a vastly expanding universe full of many different worlds and even the possibility of extraterrestrial life, but the very basic components of cosmic evolution itself, and even the age of the universe, which evolutionists confirm now, was already being taught in Kabbalistic texts back as far as the third century. And Marshall Hall really talks about three particular Kabbalists specifically, one being Isaac Luria, who lived in the 13th century, and then Nachmanides and Maimonides, who were, I believe, in the 1st and 3rd centuries. So I was just fascinated by this idea that the concept of evolution, specifically cosmic evolution, the Big Bang, going so many centuries back. Obviously, I've talked about this a little bit before. evolution being a spiritual concept that goes back into the Gnosticism of the Greeks and the Babylonians. So it wasn't too shocking, but that they would have so many. It's very specific. It's less vague than some of the other Gnostic concepts of evolution that I've come across. And so, as you can see by the clips before, when I set out to try and confirm the things that Marshall Hall was talking about, it not only was it easy to confirm, but it's pretty amazing that it's not just evolution, but so many of these other concepts of modern astrophysics, quantum physics, string theory, special relativity, all of these, basically everything that you can think of when it comes to theoretical, mathematically modeled, science or scientism, as we would call it, all of these theories, both the Kabbalists and, modern physicists like Michio Kaku are sitting here admitting it themselves. So it's really not much of a secret at this point. And I think the thing that really fascinates me the most about all this is that I think it really goes to show a concept that I've been really intrigued by ever since I first came into this flat Earth topic, when considering the idea of space being essentially just another theoretical fabrication, just like the fictional evolutionary ages, and all these millions of years that are just created out of nowhere to make the model work, to make this theory seem plausible. But getting into like the reasons behind it, why would you fake all these things? Why would you come up with all these phony theories just to remove God, just to create a framework of scientific materialism? And of course that's obviously a part of it, and that's, or at least a stage of it. And the more I've looked into this, and the more I've tried to understand it kind of in the context of the broader context of the Great Deception and where the Bible says it's all going to come back around to, I think what really makes sense is understanding all of this deception as part of a spiritual deception, designed to bring us back to this place of embracing ancient mysticism, embracing what the Bible calls Mystery Babylon. I mean, that's what Kabbalah is. I mean, you hear these guys talking about how some of these ideas go back 3,000 years. Well, 3,000 years, where do you think they were getting that from? They weren't getting this from Moses. They weren't getting this from Abraham. They got it in Babylon. They got it from the pagan kingdoms that were involved in witchcraft and sorcery and occultism, which is exactly what Kabbalah is. It is satanic, and so I think when you're connecting the dots between Kabbalism and all these phony theoretical constructs that are being passed off as science today, to me it just makes perfect sense. And I've been kind of talking about this from various angles in other videos, whether it's talking about gravity or talking about space or talking about the concept of aliens. It's all about bringing it back to the spiritual. It's a spiritual cosmology. It's an evolutionary cosmology. And in this discussion from this guy, Dr. Daniel Pratt, he talks about all these things, and he also talks about this concept of oneness, of monism, basically.
Energy turns into matter, which turns back into energy. There's no precise plan for creation worked out in advance. Rather, by an intricate and unrepeatable combination of chance and necessity, humanity has evolved from and along countless other forms of life over billions of years. Ultimately, our evolutionary history is uplifting because it enables us to see that we are part of a wholeness, a oneness. To be religious means, in the words of another contemporary physicist, to have an intuitive feeling of the unity of the cosmos. This oneness is grounded in scientific fact. We are made of the same stuff as all of creation. Everything that is, was, or will be started off together as one infinitesimal point, the cosmic seed. Life has since branched out, but this should not blind us to its underlying unity. The deepest marvel is the unity in diversity, the vast array of material manifestations of energy. Becoming aware of this multifaceted unity can help us learn how to live in harmony with other human beings and with all beings, with all our fellow transformations of energy and matter.
And this is something that I've been, I made a video about, one of the first videos I made was about the myth of oneness, featuring excerpts from a teacher named Carl Teichrieb. And he talks all about oneness, and basically, if you don't understand this concept of oneness or oneism or monism, it's just a perfect way of understanding what it's at the very core of Luciferian mystical spirituality. And basically all pagan spiritualities, all mystery schools, all false religions practically across the board teach this, or at the very least are sympathetic to this idea of oneism, that we're all one, that everything is one. And this is what evolution teaches. And so when we're thinking about evolution from just a materialistic standpoint, or a scientific standpoint, I think we can understand that scientific materialism, because it removes the spirit, the existence of spirituality or meaning or purpose, that this is just, I don't really think that is the end goal of all this deception, of all these layers of lies. But really what it does is that you redefine the cosmology, you redefine the universe, you redefine the laws of time and space and physics and everything, and you remove God from the equation. You basically do that so long that to try and remove the Bible from having any credibility, and then you're left in this materialistic vacuum which humanity cannot live in as a whole, because we want purpose and we want meaning and we're spiritual beings. And so into that vacuum comes the mysticism, which is married to evolution, which is married to all these supposedly scientific discoveries. But when you go back and see the source, it all makes sense, because it's just coming full circle. It's just coming right back around to the same Gnostic concepts that people were believing thousands of years ago. And that's what all this is. This is truly what I believe is all about, bringing people towards the Luciferian mysticism of the Antichrist kingdom in the last days. This is the spirituality that the whole world will embrace. This is the one world religion, really. It's not a religion in the classic sense that so many people think of, whether it's Rome or any of these other official religions. It's an umbrella which is going to swallow all these things up, and they already are teaching the idea of oneness, that we're all one, that we all come from the same source, and that we all just need to embrace our existence as being pieces of the whole. God is just a word for everything. God is just a word that we used. This is what they say. So I think it's worthwhile for us to study these spiritual teachings, these false teachings, to expose them, because it's everywhere. This is the new age. There's nothing new about the new age.